The Rabbi's Gift. There is a story, perhaps a myth, typical of mythic stories. It has many versions. Also typical, the source of the version I am about to tell is obscure. I cannot remember whether I heard it or read it, or where and when. Furthermore, I do not even know the distortions I myself have made in it. All I know for certain is that this version came to me with a title. It is called The Rabbi's Gift. The story concerns a monastery that had fallen upon hard times. Once a great order, as a result of the waves of anti-monastic persecution in the 17th and 18th centuries and the rise of secularism in the 19th, all its branch houses were lost, and it had become decimated to the extent that there were only 5 monks left in the decaying mother house. The abbot and 4 others, all over 70 in age. Clearly, it was a dying order. In the deep woods surrounding the monastery, there was a little hut for a rabbi from the nearby town, that a rabbi from the nearby town occasionally used for hermitage. Through their many years of prayer and contemplation, the old monks had become a bit psychic, so they could always sense when the rabbi was in his hermitage. The rabbi is in the woods. The rabbi is in the woods again, they would whisper to each other as he agonized over the imminent death of his order. It occurred to the abbot at one such time to visit the hermitage and ask the rabbi if, by possible chance, he could offer any advice that could save his monastery. The rabbi welcomed the abbot at his hut, but when the abbot explained the purpose of his visit, the rabbi could only commiserate with him. I know how it is," he exclaimed. "The spirit has gone out of the people. It is the same in my town. Almost no one comes to the synagogue anymore." So the abbot and the old rabbi wept together. And then they read parts of the Torah and quietly spoke of deep things. The time came when the abbot had to leave. They embraced each other. "It has been a wonderful thing that we should meet after all these years," said the abbot. "But I have still failed in my purpose for coming here. Is there nothing you can tell me, no piece of advice you can give me that would help me save my dying order?" "No, I am sorry," the rabbi responded. "I have no advice to give. The only thing I can tell you is that the Messiah is one of you." When the rabbi returned to the monastery, his fellow monks gathered around him to ask, "Well, what did the rabbi say?" "He couldn't help," the abbot answered. "We just wept and read the Torah together. The only thing he did say, just as I was leaving, it was something cryptic, was that the Messiah is one of us. I don't know what he meant." In the day and weeks and months that followed, the old monks pondered this and wondered whether there was any possible significance to the rabbi's words. And the Messiah is one of us? Could he possibly have meant one of us monks here at the monastery? If that's the case, which one? Do you suppose he meant the abbot? Yes, if he meant anyone, he probably meant the Father Abbot. He has been our leader for more than a generation. On the other hand, he might have meant Brother Thomas. Certainly Brother Thomas is a holy man. Everyone knows that Thomas is a man of light. Certainly he could not have meant Brother Eldred. Brother Eldred gets crotchety at times. But come to think of it, even though he is a thorn in people's sides, when you look back on it, Eldred is virtually always right. Often very right. Maybe the rabbi did mean Brother Eldred. But surely not Brother Philip. Philip is so passive, a real nobody. But then, almost mysteriously, he has a gift for somehow always being there when you need him. He just magically appears by your side. Maybe Philip is the Messiah. Of course, the rabbi didn't mean me. He couldn't possibly have meant me. I'm just an ordinary person. Yet supposing he did, suppose I am the Messiah. Oh God, not me. I couldn't be that much for you, could I? As they contemplated in this manner, the old monks began to treat each other with extraordinary respect on the off chance that one among them might be the Messiah, and on the off chance that each monk himself might be the Messiah, they began to treat themselves with extraordinary respect. Because the forest in which it was situated was beautiful, it so happened that people still occasionally came to visit the monastery to picnic on its tiny lawn, to wander along some of its paths, even now and then to go into the dilapidated chapel to meditate. And they did so, without even being conscious of it. They sensed the aura of extraordinary respect that now began to surround the 5 old monks, and seemed to radiate out from them and permeate the atmosphere of the place. There was something strangely attractive, even compelling about it. Hardly knowing why, they began to come back to the monastery more frequently to picnic, to play, to pray. They began to bring their friends to show them this special place, and their friends brought their friends. Then it happened that some of the younger men who came to visit the monastery started to talk more and more with the old monks. After a while, one asked if he could join them, then another, and another. So within a few years, the monastery had once again become a thriving order, and thanks to the rabbi's gift, a vibrant center of light and spirituality in the realm. Grandmother's gift. For as long as I can remember, I have called my grandmother Gagi. Gagi. Gaga was the first word that came out of my mouth as a baby, and my proud grandmother was sure that I was trying to say her name. She has remained my Gagi to this day. At the time of my grandfather's death, at 90 years of age, my grandparents had been married for over 50 years. Gagi felt the loss deeply. The central focus had been taken from her life, and she retreated from the world, entering into an extended period of mourning. Her grieving lasted nearly 5 years, and during that time, I made it a conscious habit to visit her every week or two. One day, I went to visit Gagi, expecting to find her in her usual state of quiescence that I had come to know so well since my grandfather's passing. Instead, I found her sitting in her wheelchair, beaming. When I didn't comment quickly enough about the obvious change in her demeanor, she confronted me. "Don't you want to know why I'm so happy? Aren't you even curious?" "Of course, Gagi," I apologized. Forgive me for not responding quickly enough. Tell me why you are so happy. Why this new disposition?" "Because last night I got an answer," she declared. "I finally know why God took your grandfather and left me behind to live without him." Gagi was always full of surprises, but I have to admit that I was really taken aback by this statement. "Why, Gagi?" I managed. Then, as if imparting the greatest secret in the world, she lowered her voice, leaned forward in her wheelchair, and confided quietly, "Your grandfather knew that the secret of life is love, and lived it every day. He had become unconditional love in action. I have known about unconditional love, but I haven't fully lived it. That's why he got to go first, and I had to stay behind." She paused as if considering what she was about to say, and then continued. "All this time, I thought I was being punished for something, but last night I found out that I was left behind as a gift from God. He let me stay so that I too could turn my life into love. You see," she said, pointing a finger to the sky, "last night I was shown that you can't learn the lesson out there. Love has to be lived here on earth. Once you leave, it's too late. So I was given the gift of life so that I can learn to live love here and now." From that day, every visit became a new adventure as Gagi shared her stories regarding her goal. Once, when I went to see her, she pounded the arm of the wheelchair in excitement and said, "You'll never guess what I did this morning." When I responded that I couldn't guess, she continued excitedly, "Well, this morning your uncle was very upset and angry with me over something I had done. I didn't even flinch. I received his anger, wrapped it in love, and returned it with joy." Her eyes twinkled, and as she added, "It was even kind of fun, and his anger dissolved." Though age continued on its relentless course, her life was vigorously renewed. Visit after visit added up to the passing of years, while Gagi practiced her lessons in love. She had a purpose worth living for, a reason for going on those last 12 years. In the last days of Gagi's life, I visited her often in the hospital. As I walked toward her room one day, the nurse on duty looked into my eyes and said, "Your grandmother is a very special lady. You know, she's a light." Yes, purpose lit up her life. She became a light for others until the end.